Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. I'll let folks trickle in out of the waiting room for a minute or two and into the session. I know it takes a minute to click through everything and for that little dot going around in circles to finally get through. So I think we're probably doing okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming tonight. I'm really glad that you could take time out of your evening to join us and chat a little bit. We've got cameras, keyboards, and communications here tonight to focus on some fun topics. My name's Jake Dietrich. I'm Assistant Director of Admissions here at Syracuse in the general office. I'm joined tonight by Jenny and Wes, who are two of my colleagues in VPA and Newhouse, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves real quick as well. Jenny, would you mind?
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Jake. My name is Jenny Saluti. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the College of Visual and Performing Arts, and I'm really excited to be here with you.
All right. Well, great to meet you all. My name is Wes Whiteside. I'm the Associate Director for Recruitment and Diversity at the Newhouse School, and so glad to be here.
That's great. Thanks so much. I'm so excited for this session. I feel like it's several of my favorite people and several of my favorite topics all in one session. So this should be a fun night. I've got the privilege of being able to kick us off by just talking a little bit more broadly about Syracuse University, where we are, who we are, what we're like. And we're not going to take up too much time with this. We want to get to the bulk of the presentation for sure. But I wanted to show off a couple pretty pictures of campus just to get us started. You know, I know that it's tough not being able to visit. We're currently still closed to visitation in light of everything, trying to keep our students safe and healthy, and we're working hard with them to make sure that our campus is respectful and kind and safe. So in the meantime, there's a lot of great virtual programs on our website that we can link you towards, and virtual tours and Instagram pages that really give you a sense of what campus looks like. But I wanted to start off by just kind of highlighting, you know, this is us. We get 4 seasons, as you can tell from the photos. But Syracuse is consisting of about 15,000 undergraduate students, and that's split up into 9 different schools and colleges. And so we're kind of a big school that doesn't behave like one. Our average class size here is actually 26. The student to faculty ratio is down to 15 to 1. And so what you end up with are the resources of a much larger institution, but the ability to personalize your education that you find in much smaller places, and the option to work one-on-one with professors and faculty and develop some really meaningful relationships that help you feel as though you're not just going through the motions of college, but that you're truly crafting something that you can be proud of and that's going to be uniquely suited to your own goals and ideas. So with Syracuse, you know, I think that structure is really important to keep in mind as we talk about the different academic focuses tonight. We're adjacent to the city of Syracuse, which is just a wonderful place to be. There's a lot of great professional opportunities and resources for students right off campus. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about some of those jobs and opportunities students have worked in a few minutes. But ultimately, this is a place with a lot of spirit, a lot of energy, and a lot of opportunities. So we're really excited to share a little bit about that with you tonight. So to start us off, I guess we'll go ahead and have Jenny take over.
Great. Thanks, Jake. I will start by saying that I'm really excited to be here with Wes to do this session. He can confirm when he jumps in, but I think some of the questions that both of us and the people that we work with in our respective colleges get the questions a lot about the differences between what on the surface seem like similar programs, but when you can dig in and really hear from both sides about the experience, then students can really figure out which is the best fit for them. So I hope tonight we're able to provide you with that information so that you can find which is the best program at Syracuse for you. So just to jump in and give you a sense of scale and size, the College of Visual and Performing Arts is made up of 7 departments and schools. 6 of those are at the undergraduate level. So we have art, design, transmedia, music, drama, and communication and rhetorical studies. Some of those we'll talk about tonight. 25 different degree programs, 17 minors. As Jake said, 1 to 15 faculty-student ratio, and in many cases much smaller than that as you get into different higher level studio classes, and just under 2,000 students. So we operate like in terms of the size, like a small liberal arts college within a major research university. So that's just a little bit about us, and we'll get into some details after Wes tells you about Newhouse.
right, thank you, Jenny. Yeah, so exactly what Jenny was saying is that there is a little bit of crossover between Newhouse and visual performing arts, and we'll certainly dive into that this evening. But as Jenny mentioned with At a Glance with VPA, this is the same for Newhouse. So we have 8 degree programs, which we will talk about what those 8 are, and we have 2 minors. And those 2 minors is a communication minor, so public communication minor, and then there's a photography minor. But there's one thing to note about with Newhouse. If you are a Newhouse student, you can't minor in Newhouse, and we'll certainly dive a little bit deeper into that. But you can find your minor other places. Just like VPA, we're 1 to 15 faculty to student ratio, which means you're going to know your professor by name within smaller classes, and they'll get to know you. We've got some amazing professors that work with our students. And then, as you see, we're right at 2,000 students. For a while, we were kind of hovering right at like the 1,996 area, but somehow, some way, we found 4 students, and we are at 2,000 now. So we're excited to have that.
So to start us off, we're going to talk first about the cameras idea. And Wes, I'll let you start off since Newhouse is first on this slide.
Awesome, thank you. So as you see here, we both have cameras. So, and with Newhouse, we have 2 majors that kind of falls in your area of camera. It's television, radio, and film. And then there is photography, which falls into that area too. So let's start with television, radio, and film. So television, radio, and film, it's kind of what we do is we combine like 21st century film and storytelling, and we kind of put that with critical foundation in multimedia. Really, one of the things to say about the television, radio, and film, I asked our department chair, how do you describe television, radio, and film? And he said, to be honest with you, we want to make money. we sell out. So that's what we teach our students. So, but the way is you come in either the area for television, radio, and film, you kind of come under that umbrella. And then what we do is we teach you kind of 3 classes within a specific area. So screenwriting, there is kind of the motion and the directing area. And then we teach you the business side of television, radio, and film. And then from there, you will find what area that you want to go. Do you want to go more directing? You want to go more screenwriting? You want to go more acting? You want to go more business? And then you can combine that together. What's unique about television, radio, and film, there's about 3 or 4 classes that all television, radio, and film students take. And then the rest of their classes are what we say are tools, technologies, and skills, where you can either go heavy in directing, heavy in screenwriting, or heavy on the business side. If you want to do set design, that's another area too. And one thing that we do is we groom students to keep the industry going. So that is, making sure that you're connecting with actors and actresses, making sure that you're connecting with the media, on the area of social media, on the area of researching and what your demographics are, the people who you're going to research, and being in front and say, here is our new television show. We want you to watch it. We want you to critique it. So it's kind of all of those areas which you will find within television, radio, and film. And one thing you'll know about actually both us in visual performing arts, we're ranked 16th in the country as a top film school. And this is with Hollywood Reporter. They actually combine both our film programs together. So we do have both programs have an amazing film program. Then you'll go to photography. And I know it says photojournalism there, but it is photography. So one thing that we do is our students, they are going to learn modern visual storytelling technique. Now I know photography, you're thinking about cameras and lenses and lighting. Of course, we teach that, but also we teach our students a little bit of writing. We also teach our students how to be entrepreneurs as well. And then under photography, there's 2 tracks. You either do the commercial or advertising photography, or you'll do photojournalism. And within there is some documentary. There's also cinematography also in there too. So either if you want to be in your own studio, or if you kind of want to go in your own area as far as taking photos for National Geographic, for magazines, newspapers, kind of fall within that area too. As you see with our degree, 122 credits for our degree. And what's actually unique about the Newhouse degree is 50% of what you take is going to be in liberal arts. So as you see the yellow or orange area that you see there, 50% of what you take in liberal arts, and then you take about a quarter or three, so about 34% of that is actually going to be as far as your Newhouse major. And then you'll see like a darker orange, and that's 19 electives where you can find a minor. We're the only school at the university that requires a minor, and our students can minor in 100 different areas across campus. And like I said, we may dive deeper into that as we go. But Jenny, you can go ahead and take it over with cameras for VPA.
Thanks, Wes. So as you can see for VPA, things that we felt fit into this category are our film degree, our art photography degree, and I threw computer art and animation in there because many of our animation students are interested in filmmaking and they're just approaching it from a different medium. And actually the two are very strongly related. So I thought I would throw that in there to talk about a little bit too. Starting with the curriculum, I think is one of the biggest things that will allow you to see some immediate differences between the programs. You can see that our coursework is a majority in the major. So the blue, both the dark blue and the light blue bands are coursework that's specific to the major. The dark blue is specifically in that major, and the light blue are coursework are courses that are supportive of the major but required to complete the major. So the Bachelor of Fine Art degree is the professional degree related to the arts, and so that means the bulk of your curriculum would be within those related fields. So we have academic electives, but those make up the orange band. And as you can see, a very small band of required academics. And in these cases, it's really the writing courses. So all SU students take a year of writing, and our VPA students do that as well. But after that, they don't follow a liberal arts core curriculum where you must take this number of math, this number of science, humanities, physical and social science. We give students flexibility to take the things that are meaningful to them and to their art making. So if you want a minor, you can absolutely do that. There's room to do that. If you're interested in a second major within the liberal arts, you can absolutely do that. And absolutely minor in Newhouse if students choose to do that and get the best of both worlds. So just a little bit about each of these majors. Our film program is really approaches the medium as a holistic process. So it's really, they think of it as holistic independent filmmaking, where the students are learning all aspects of filmmaking and really taking on all the roles as they move through the curriculum. So they're writing, they're directing, they're shooting, they're editing, they're doing post-production, they're exploring sound, etc. And they do start off with 16mm film, so they get some cutting, splicing, film work under their belts, and they have a camera in their hands in the first semester as well. The other thing that I like to point out about our film major is the idea that the student approach, they're really thinking of the filmmaker as auteur. So that's a film term that really means that the creative direction and the feel of the film is really being put forth by the director, and they're controlling sort of everything about it. And so if you think about personal influence and artistic control impacting how we experience the movie, that's sort of the idea of the auteur. So filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino, Woody Allen, Martin Scorsese, they have very specific feel and look and things like that to their work. Wes Anderson is another one. So that's kind of the approach and the idea, the philosophy behind film. As Wes mentioned, both programs really highly ranked, so great exposure, and also the ability to engage fully in exploring the medium. Our film students that do have interest in writing or writing or directing can take some more classes that develop those skills in more detail through their elective work. And for example, the students that are interested in directing actually take some acting courses so that they understand how to engage and work with actors, and they do that through our Department of Drama. So there's some nice collaboration that happens within the college. In terms of our art photography degree, students also are approaching all aspects of photography. And I think photography and photojournalism between VPA and Newhouse are probably one of the murkiest in terms of what's the difference. And so I always go back to the idea of the curriculum and sort of how you're spending your time. But the students in our photography major really do develop their creative voice as well as technical skill, contemporary themes and theory, as well as professional and practical skills. So they're building all of those things together and approaching it from a wide range of areas. So cinema, documentary, fashion, even ecology. And so they're really marrying those professional development skills with the strong engagement with the world around them and academic critique. So that emphasis on creativity goes across the board, intellectual development and acquisition of skills. Computer art and animation, again, students that have interest in filmmaking, but maybe also animation and moving image in that way, can combine the two. They're closely related. Our transmedia department overall has a core foundation that all of the majors, so the only one here that is not listed is also art video, but all of the students will start in a first year core that introduces them to major themes of storytelling, light, movement, and how those things cross the boundaries and create interdisciplinary activities. So hopefully that gives you kind of a general sense of those programs and the differences between them. I think our next slide talks about alumni a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I thought I would jump in and say hello for a second here. Thanks so much. I know that was a lot of chat about some really great academic focuses and more. We've had a few questions trickle into the chat already, which is great. Thank you so much. I neglected to say this earlier on camera, but a few of my colleagues are here behind the scenes helping out answer them as we go throughout the program. So feel free to type something in if anything pops up, and we can be sure to answer you in text or flag it to be answered towards the end of our session. But something I wanted to take a moment to address while we were on the subject of academics, we had a couple majors come in, including one from Alan and another from Gabby, a couple major questions about majoring at Syracuse and what the opportunities look like to double major between the two schools or double major within the school individually. And I know this can be a little tricky. About 20% of our students do more than one major, but that's easier to do with some programs than others. And so I wanted to take a second just to clarify what that looks like. Jenny, would you mind maybe, and
Sure.
Wes, talking a little bit about within your individual schools as well as between the two of you, what opportunities there might be for collaboration?
Absolutely. I think probably starting with the between the two schools makes the most sense. And Wes, jump in anytime here, but both Newhouse and VPA offer professionally focused programs. So there are some specific requirements that students have to fulfill in order to complete those degrees. For VPA, that is, as I said, sort of close to 75% of the coursework in some of our majors is specific to that discipline. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for adding on other professional program majors, so engineering or the Whitman School. However, for students that are interested in adding on a major that is within the liberal arts, that is absolutely doable because you would use your academic electives towards that. You might have a heavier load here and there with your coursework, but it's definitely possible. But Newhouse has professional programs and they require, as Wes explained, the liberal arts experience. So it can be really hard to combine VPA and Newhouse. Would you agree, Wes?
Yeah, as a double major, yes. That would be a little bit difficult to do because VPAs, as you saw, their curriculum is a little bit more heavy based, where we do ours is more liberal arts and then our major. VPAs is a little flipped, right? Where they are more major and a little bit less on the liberal arts. But you can minor in VPA. So, and we see that a lot. We see students in television, radio, and film will pick up like a music industry minor in visual performing arts. They even do theater because there's a theater minor in visual performing arts. We see students in photography actually pick up art photography and the computer art and animation. minors too, because as I said, we're the only school that requires a minor. We look at it as, yes, you're in communications, but what are you going to communicate about? And then that way you can add that minor. You can go to visual performing arts. But what Jake was saying, as far as like being a dual major, having two majors, that is one thing that is also unique about the Newhouse school. We allow our students to have dual majors with 3 schools at the university. One is the College of Arts and Sciences, so liberal arts. So you have to take those liberal arts credits anyway. So a lot of our students will look up and go, oh, I might as well add a psychology major because I've already taken a lot of psychology classes. Or I'd go political science or women's and gender studies, African American studies, LGBTQ studies, history, whatever, because of the amount of the arts and sciences that you have to take. And then our students will go to a school called the I School or the School of Information Studies to do information management. So that is data analytics. That's also in your area for cybersecurity, or if they wanted to do web design. And then the third is Whitman School of Management for business. So going on the camera area, I'm in television, radio, and film. I want to concentrate on the business side, such as like how much this movie is going to cost, or this television show, or we have to pay the actors or writers, all within that area for Whitman. And you can apply for those as coming into Syracuse. So you can apply as a dual coming in.
Thanks so much to the both of you. As you can tell, probably from the enthusiasm with which we talk about it and the sheer volume of opportunities we're talking about, there's a lot of different ways to mix and match a couple different interests that you have here. Truthfully, I don't think anyone comes to Syracuse just to do one thing and leave. There's a lot of ways that our students engage in a variety of spaces, and that happens when you have 15,000 students and 200 plus majors. I'm going to keep us moving along just in the interest of time, but if we could, I think we'll talk a little bit more about alumni in the coming slides as well, but is there any quick comments you wanted to make about some of the stuff on the Cameras alumni slide at all?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Wes.
Go ahead, Jenny.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say is that what I think is striking when you put it in writing and you compare the two is how many similar kinds of experiences that our alumni have. So they may be in different facets of the industry, of this sort of same industry, right? Different sides of the table in one company, but they also might be on the same side of the table. And so you can see the variety here. I don't think we have to go through every single one. And actually, I love the idea of asking questions with this slide, so it gives people a chance to digest it. But you know, we just have so many people doing so many amazing things that I think this just proves that point.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say the same thing, is that students will say is, if I'm in VPA, can I find jobs in similar as television? And you see that, yes, you can. We provide our students actually both to prepare themselves to go into the world of film, photography. There's multi areas where our students can go in. So it just depends on how you want your curriculum to be set up, right? Where if you want to concentrate more on the film area, that's VPA, right? If you want to have film and then have some liberal arts and then an area to find a minor and possibly dual major, it would be Newhouse. But it really comes down to, you know, where you think you fit.
Yeah, and there's lots of places that cross over while you're here, even if it's not the curriculum. For example, both Newhouse and VPA takes students to the Sundance Film Festival to engage with the work that's going on there and see screenings and meet alumni and participate in panels. So, you know, there's a lot of collaboration. We both send students to Los Angeles to do semester work. So in a lot of ways, it does come down to kind of, how do I see myself spending my time, and what are the things that I want to combine and how. So with our students in VPA, they spend a lot of time in the studios. They're collaborating and working in that way and have less time in sort of an academic setting. And Newhouse has a little more in the academic setting, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned LA. I think we'll come back to talking about opportunities to study in different markets and abroad in a few minutes. For now, though, I think I'll push us right ahead over to keyboards so we can talk about the music side of things. Jenny, perhaps you'd like to start with VPA here.
Sure. We have 2 degrees that fit under this category related to the Newhouse School. So we have other music degrees, but these are the ones that we often get the questions about, which is the right fit. And both of these are also what we would call professional music degrees. So they award a Bachelor of Music degree in music industry or in sound recording technology. And a unique aspect of our, and actually I put that in the wrong spot. So ignore the MBA option at sound recording. It's actually connected to music industry, forgive me there. But our music industry degree also has an option for a 5th year MBA with the Whitman School. So for students that know they want to go on and get more in-depth business experience and degree, they would apply in their 3rd year and then start coursework in their 4th year and finish out a 5th year with both a Bachelor of Music degree and an MBA. So it's a really unique and great opportunity for students that have that specific interest. As you can see, we have degree programs that have, you know, a varying amount of credits depending on which degree. But again, most of the coursework is going to be specific to the degree. And that for music industry and for sound recording includes applied music lessons. It includes music theory and music history, and it includes performing in ensembles. So our degrees are for students that have an interest in the technical and in the business side of music, but also are musicians themselves and find a passion to continue that. And we find that it allows our students a unique bend as they enter the workforce. So they have a different perspective as they work with artists or they work in developing, you know, copyright, or they are developing, you know, management. And that's because they come at it from a musician's point of view. So with music industry, as quickly as I can, it is the music business, but again, with the applied music connected. It's actually the first degree of its kind. We've been offering a music industry degree for quite a while, starting back in the 1970s. And it allows students to study either classical or a jazz commercial focus with those applied lessons. So we have sort of this rigorous music curriculum and a business curriculum coming together, and then crossover between those. This program does require an internship, so students are engaged in that work. And I'll mention too that we have a great career services team, and we are proud that they work specifically with our VPA students on their specific goals. So working within the arts to develop careers in that way. And I mentioned the MBA. The sound recording and technology major really is a little bit more about audio engineering and the technical side of the artistic field. So students in this major are kind of dealing with multidisciplinary studies, including music, sound production, new media design, computer science, mathematics. They're taking engineering courses. These students are usually very strong in math and in physics, and they engage with our state-of-the-art Belfer Audio Lab, which is one of the recording studios that our students use. For both of these programs, they engage in something called the Sawyer's Lecture Series, which brings industry professionals, and also they have the opportunity to do something called the Gilbert Week. It's an immersion semester in New York City hosted by one of our alumni. And then the last thing that is different for these programs than the Newhouse Bandier program is that it does require an audition. But again, it could be classically focused, or it could be a jazz commercial area of musicianship. So I will turn it over to Wes to talk a little bit about Bandier.
All right, thank you, Jenny. So the Bandier program, as you see, is a recording and entertainment industries. So a little bit of history about the Bandier program. It actually started off in the College of Visual Performing Arts, so I definitely want to give them credit for that. That program was about 10 years ago where it started there. Marty Bandier, who was the owner of Sony, he actually came to the university and said that he wanted to create a program for students who were interested in music, but also who didn't necessarily want to be an artist or play an instrument. Now, of course, we have students in this program that do both, but he kind of wanted to concentrate more on the behind the scenes, right? The A&R piece and working with an artist or a band to create their album, the branding, the marketing, the entrepreneurship, working at a concert venue, creating a tour, right? And working all those aspects kind of behind the scenes. That's what he wanted to do. So that's how that program actually started. And then it came over to Newhouse about 2 years ago. So the degree that we have is, once again, 122 credits. As you see, the majority of the courses that you take are going to be in liberal arts. But the great thing about the Bandia program is it's a nice mixture of communications, business, and music industry. So you will take the majority of your classes in Newhouse. So you have your Newhouse classes. Then you are going to take, you see the two different colors that we have here that were a little bit different from television, radio, and film and photography, where you'll take a few classes in the Whitman School of Management, and then you'll take a few classes in the music industry program with the College of Visual Performing Arts. So it's a nice, well-rounded mix. So one of the things that it does, it focuses on the business side in the industry and all the intersections of all your areas of media. There's a strong emphasis on hands-on experience where you can build your resume and kind of create your kind of get the opportunity to go kind of in the entry level all the way to the upper level before you graduate. We do require our students to do 3 internships within the Bandia program. The coursework that you'll be taking, you're like working with record labels, publishing, the live sector, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship, communications, law, social media, the emerging technologies and data. All of that is kind of within the Bandia program. Just like VPA, we have a weekly lecture series. Ours is called the Resic series, where they will be bringing in people from the industry. Actually, 2 weeks ago, Louis the Child came in. The Chainsmokers has been in before. And then also this past spring, Scooter Braun came in to talk to the students in the Bandia program. Now, also what's unique about the Bandia program is this is the program where I would say is if you are interested in the Bandia program, I would recommend that you apply. So you can come into Newhouse as undeclared and then find your major once you arrive. We give our students up to their sophomore year. Bandia is the only program where you can't do that because it's an endowed program. And what does that mean? That means that Marty Bandier says that he only wanted a certain number of seats in the program, so that can guarantee our students the internships. So we do cap off the Bandier program at 30 seats. So it is selective, but I would say is if you're interested in the Bandier program, I would apply directly to the program. Just like VPA, our students have the opportunity to go to Los Angeles and do some study abroad. But with it being so small, it is like a family-like community where the students will be doing things together. They'll be going to mentoring with one another from your freshman year all the way to your senior year. And like I said, connecting with some amazing professors that we have in the industry. Actually, the department chair is Bill Wordy, who worked at Billboard. So just kind of giving you a sense of some of the professors that we have in the program.
Sorry, my mute button seemed to have stopped working there for a second, but I'm glad I'm back with you. Thanks so much, Wes and Jenny. I appreciate that. And I know we already kind of talked a little bit about alumni and some other programs, but if there's any final comments you'd like to make, I'm happy to take a second. I do want to note we had a couple questions come in and we were talking about professionalism and internship work to a certain extent. And a couple questions come in about kind of favorite internships and programs. And maybe we could just take a second and say, do you have any like recent or current students that you have just seen get a really cool job or internship recently? And what was that process like for them? Jenny, would you mind starting off?
Sure. Well, I'm not specific to keyboards, but I can tell you that one of the most recent sort of reminders was last week when I did a program out west. One of our alumni, Janie, she's an alumni of film, actually. She was an ambassador in the VPA program, and she did the LA semester when she was a student. And when she was there, she had an internship with DreamWorks. And she really did a great job there. She got to do some pitches, and she is experienced with American Sign Language. I believe one of her siblings may use sign language, but she was really passionate about this and pitched the idea to develop programming to include a character that used American Sign Language. They loved it, of course. So she did really well in her internship. And when she graduated, she then got a job at DreamWorks. And actually last week when she helped us out, she told us she had just received a recent promotion. So now she's overseeing show development in a division, and she's sort of overseeing different shows that are being worked up and developed for the screen. So I think that in general, I would say this goes across the board. I mean, Syracuse alumni are really wonderful asset for our current students, and the network is pretty amazing. So Wes?
Yeah, I work with the Newhouse ambassadors, so I do have a few success stories of students finding internships. Actually, this happened in one of my information sessions last spring. Even though the student didn't have the opportunity to do the internship because of COVID and it was canceled, but he was an advertising student, and there was a mother and her son came to our information session. And they were sitting in the back and they were listening to our students talk. And one of our students, his name's Colin. Colin's an advertising major. He was talking everything about advertising and whatnot. And so literally after the information session, the mother walked up to him and they exchanged their names. And she said that I am the president at BBDO, which is an advertising firm in New York City. And right on that spot, she offered him an internship. Even though he didn't get to do it, but it is guaranteed for this summer. So he's a junior, so he's going to do it this summer in New York City. So like that, I would say that was like the most amazing internship offer I've ever seen. Also this summer we had a young lady. Her name is Blessing Amoli. Blessing is in our magazine news and digital journalism program. She had 2 internships. She did one at the New York Times and the other one at the NFL. So kind of just to name a few. But when it comes to keyboards, as you see with the Bandier program, our program, it's only been in Newhouse for about 2 years. So as you see, our alums are kind of, recent, right? Where it did start off in visual performing arts and then it came over to Newhouse. So our alums are recent, and as you see, they are finding jobs directly right into the field as soon as they get out. And one thing to note, just like television, radio, and film, and photography, and art, photography and film for VPA, is they find jobs especially in the same areas. So even though VPA is a little bit more on playing an instrument and also doing vocals, where you still find a job within those areas. So at the end of the day, if there's one thing that you want to hear from us, at the end of the day, jobs are about skills, right? And that is what you're going to learn in any one of these majors that can cross over to anything within each field.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly. And just really quickly, I like to point out Julie Kubacki on our alumni list, because she's a really great example of how people sort of cross the boundary. So her current role is a vice president of promotion at 300 Entertainment, but she studied music industry, and she is a cellist, and she continued and felt it was really important to continue her own personal development as a musician. But she's not playing professionally right now. She plays for her own enjoyment, and I think she comes from a family of musicians, but she's on the promotion and business side. She just took that different path. So again, I think for students that want to continue that passion of playing, that doesn't mean you don't find an industry job. It just means you have a different path and you have this different element of experience. And she told a story where she was able to actually pull out her cello and play for an artist she was trying to work with, to have them hear what she was trying to explain, and it sort of changed everything. So I think it's a cool example.
That is amazing. That's so cool. I want to note too, just while we're on the subject, if you're looking for more student stories and to learn a little bit from students directly about some of the cool jobs, opportunities, programs they've been involved with at Syracuse, we have student panels every Monday night. You can always register for one of those on our website and hear directly from our tour guides and ambassadors here. And, you know, if you email us and we'll provide our contact information, we're more than happy to connect you to current students as well, who can provide a little bit more insight from somebody who's doing it right now.
Absolutely. I know that Newhouse is doing this, and we are also doing it where we'll have some student panels specific to the programs. So if you want to hear from students across the board, you can do it with admissions, you can do it with Newhouse, you can do it with VPA, and really dig in and get all the details you need.
Absolutely, thanks. And so I think it's time we should probably start moving on towards the design communications aspect of this. I see VPA is first on the slide, so Jenny, I'd like to ask you to go first.
I'm happy for us to start off. We just didn't move it around after that first slide.
We can shift back later too.
Yeah, so I'll start with graphic design. So graphic design also falls into the area, what we say is visual communications. And that is photography and graphic design, and they kind of work hand in hand, where of course, photography is, you know, using cameras and taking film and developing film. Graphic design is more so on the area of what you see on a daily basis in regards to graphics, right? So think about it, to the logos that you see just in, you know, when you open up your phone, right? And you see the way the home screen is laid out, right? Or if you're walking down the street and you look up and there's a billboard to, I'm at a concert and I see this cool design kind of go across the screen. That is all part of graphic design. What we also do in there is we do what's called UX UI, which is the interface. And we do teach our students actually at a early level of how to create typefaces. So that's actually one of the first courses that our students do, is a typeface where they actually will create their own fonts, and they will work with professors and they will work with faculty to create their own typefaces. I got my own typeface. It's actually in the works. It's almost done. And the student called it Embrace, which is kind of cool. I can't wait to use it. I'll be able to use it within some of my emails that I have. And so that was one of the things that it's cool when you get to work with them. But then, of course, when it comes to Newhouse, we teach all of our students writing. So no matter what major that you're in, there is going to be a writing component in there. There's going to be some theory classes in there. You do have to take a communications law course. You also are required to take a diversity class too in all of our majors. And as you see, it's a trend, 122 credits, liberal arts, right? Also, there's the 34% of what you take in Newhouse, and then the 19 free elective credits, which then again, you can fall back into another level area. So I'm in graphic design. I may want to do something in your area of seeing out who am I going to relate with. I could go to the College of Arts and Sciences. I could even say, oh, in graphic design, I want to create logos for athletic teams. I can go to sport management in the David B. Falk College of Sport and Human Dynamics and create logos or work in the area as far as like doing something with sport. So that is, like I said, that 19 free elective credits to find minors in other areas. It's what makes Newhouse, because like I said before, yes, you're in communications, but what are you going to communicate about?
Cool. So communication design is a Bachelor of Fine Art degree. It's housed in our School of Design, which has over 100 years of history at Syracuse University. And this is also a very professionally focused program. So overall, I think it's important to know that our School of Design has concern for sustainable practices, social issues, and really then excellence in their professional practice as well. And also the students in the design program start off in a first-year core of coursework that allows them to dive into some of the foundational ideas and skills that are specific to design. This is also unique because the students aren't doing this with fine art. So we have a separate foundational year for our studio art and our illustration students. Oftentimes as students are looking at majors like this, they may find that they're looking at a first year core that involves drawing and three-dimensional design and things like that. And in communications design, that core is actually specific to design. For communications design, it is also, that idea of visual communication is right on. And comm design is really encompassing all aspects of communicating visually. So advertising, marketing, packaging, publication, web and social media. These students are really developing the relationship between the viewer and the visuals, and they're thinking big picture strategy. So instead of making one specific component of a campaign, our students in communications design are learning how to make that full campaign and how to execute it, and they're starting with the idea. So really developing and designing the message, that communication, like Wes said, and then everything is built from there. So utilizing the visuals to be strategic about expressing that information. The coursework in communication design does have a lot of studio time, but the coursework is taught with industry in mind. So they really develop the courses to be a similar kind of environment as to what students in this kind of area will find when they enter the workforce. So they're dealing with creative practice, communications theory, design history, project management, illustration, photography, topography, drawing, illustrating, and also production processes. So all of that coming to play. And those students are taking classes at the warehouse and spending lots of time there in building their projects. So they may come up with a concept and develop all the aspects of it. One of the faculty members many years ago for us described what I thought was an interesting example of thinking about communications design. And he said that UPS, the package delivery service, is a perfect example of communications design, because they started with an idea for delivering packages that wasn't the US Postal Service, right? And they came up with this sort of army idea in the sense of everyone is wearing these uniforms, they're drab in color, they think about the emblem and how it exists, and that they're not only designing the logo, right, but how the logo is perceived and how it relates to everything else that's happening. So they started with that idea and then developed from there. So it's sort of a broad look at visual communication, and students then find their path. So do I want to do signage and wayfaring, or am I interested in publication and book design, anything and everything you can think of, exhibition design, how we move through spaces. So that's a little bit about comm design.
Thanks so much. I made sure that my microphone was unmuted this time and I was ready to go. But I appreciate the chat. While we take a look at some alumni and some of the opportunities these students have had to pursue careers in and work in afterwards, I want to take a minute, just revisit some of the questions that have popped in. In particular, one, well, there have been a couple about studying abroad and what that opportunity looks like at Syracuse. And so I figured I'd take just a second to note that, about half of our students do study abroad here at SU, and it is built into the curriculum. There's a lot of different programs in terms of length and in terms of geography. There's week-long programs, summer-long programs, half-semester-long programs, and more. So there's definitely some flexibility in choosing when you go and for how long. There's also over 60 different countries that we go to, 5 of which where we actually own property. And stateside, we have centers and property in New York City, DC, and LA too, which will be specifically tied into VPA and Newhouse in just a minute. But long story short, if you'd like to study abroad, there's a lot of great resources to do so. Our program's ranked top 25 in the nation, and this is a big part of what it means to be a Syracuse student. On that note, Wes, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the Newhouse New York City program and some of the opportunities you see Newhouse students pursue either stateside or abroad.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. So actually, I'll talk about both LA and New York because they are kind of related. So so just like study abroad, you can go to another country. Newhouse has the programs in New York and LA. Where Syracuse University abroad, we want you to go abroad and go to another country, and we don't even want you to think about your Newhouse classes because there's not a lot of places abroad that offer Newhouse classes. So we want you to take classes that you can't take here. So instance like a student went to Florence, Italy, and they took an Italian mafia class. We can't teach that here at Syracuse University. A student went to London and took 11 objects in London. We don't have Big Ben in Syracuse, right? So go there and take those classes. But when you are looking at New York and LA, that is specifically for Newhouse. So the way both programs are set up is your internship is required. We actually help you find your internship. You do your internship half the day, then you take your Newhouse classes in the evening, but also kind of tucked into that day is networking, where you'll be going to companies will be coming to you in your area in New York and LA, sharing your resume, your cover letter, working with Newhouse alums. Our students like to refer our alums as the Newhouse Mafia because they will come and they will recruit you, even to the point where I had alums reach out to me and say, when I see Newhouse at the top, when I see Newhouse on their resume, that goes to the top because I know exactly what they've done. But that area, as far as New York and LA, we often get students to say, which one should I go to? I mentioned to students, go to where you think you want to work. So if you say, I think I want to work in New York, go to New York because you'll spend a semester there and you'll get to ride the subway. You'll get to walk the streets. You'll find out if you want to live in New York or not. Same thing out in LA. See if you want to live in LA. Or what we often see is, I'm from the East Coast. I've never been to the West Coast, so I'll go to LA. I'm from the West Coast, never really stayed on the East Coast, so I'll do New York. And within all of our majors, you can do New York and LA. You can actually go abroad and you can do New York or LA. You can't do New York and LA because of the way the curriculums are set up. So so it's definitely an opportunity for you to do abroad, go to another country, and then do a domestic program in New York and LA.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Jenny, what does that look like for VPA? What kind of opportunities do they have studying either abroad or stateside?
Sure. So, I mean, similar to Newhouse, our students in these disciplines can go to Los Angeles. So I won't go into a lot of detail there, but one of the things that is unique about opportunities for students to study abroad who are studying in visual and performing arts majors is that ability to stay on track with their major. So through our centers, as well as World Partners, we offer programs that allow students to take the coursework they need when they go abroad, as well as experience another world and get that global experience, which we think is so important. As you can imagine, with the bulk of the curriculum and the professional degrees being focused within the major, it can be difficult to go abroad if you don't have a program that's set up for you. So for example, our film students will go to Prague and study at FAMU, which is the one of the oldest and most renowned film schools in the world, and they can take courses and explore 36mm film, and they're in Prague. Our music industry students can study abroad in Strasbourg or in London and get that global experience. And our design students also will typically go to London because it's a design mecca and study abroad there and continue with their design courses. But there, those classes, sort of like Wes was describing, the design classes, even though you're taking design classes, so you stay on track, they are different kinds of classes. They actually combine multiple majors and they're taught by faculty that work and live in London. So you're really getting a different perspective of design practice and how it functions within another environment, not just that United States perspective. So it's a great opportunity to expand your horizons. And I think if you're looking at other art schools or music schools, that is a unique factor of SU, that you can do the abroad and stay on track.
Perfect. Thanks so much. In the interest of time, we're going to keep us moving. Wes, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind taking just a quick moment before we talk communications. We had a couple questions trickle in about Bandier, and I'd like to take a second to clarify if at all possible. The first is, about the flexibility with dual degrees in band year program. Is it possible to do a dual degree with band year and an MBA, or is that only an option for music industry? So maybe Jenny, that's towards you as well. And I can repeat the second in just a moment.
Yeah, so Bandier, to do a dual, you would not be able to do the dual with Bandier because your curriculum is already set up for you. So I mean, if you think about it, it is kind of three programs into one, right? Where the amount of credits that you're taking is going to be actually four, if you think about it. You got arts and sciences, right? You got your Newhouse, and then you've got your visual performing arts, and then you got your business. So you're really taking classes within four different colleges at the university to kind of make it a well-rounded curriculum. So as you probably remember me saying, is that if you're in Newhouse, you have to have a minor. The Bandier program, your minor is already created for you because you have to take business classes and you have to take visual performing arts classes. So that is called a specialization. So it's the same as the minor. One thing to note is that it is not going to be on your diploma. Your minor is not on your diploma. Same thing with your specialization. So that's one thing students will go, well, what's the difference between the specialization and the minor? It's really the same. But as I said, with Bandier, it's already created in there.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And the second question, I'll try and get through this just as quickly as we can, is a little bit more about the internships and how those three internships you'd mentioned are dispersed. Are they mostly junior and senior year, or is it kind of intermixed throughout the program?
It's intermixed throughout. And that's the same thing with all Newhouse. Like I've seen freshmen find internships. Now, it's probably not going to be at your ESPN or ABC or Live Nation or anything like that. It may be something local, right? It might be at a local radio station, or it might be at a local architecture firm and you're doing advertising for them, or you're doing their public relations for them. And then by your junior year going into your senior year, that's when you'll get the big internships. But also, we're in the city of Syracuse, so we're close by. So you can work with different companies who know Syracuse University students are amazing, and they're going to reach out to faculty and staff and say, I'm looking for someone to do my social media account, or I am a starting artist and want someone to be my A&R person, or I want someone to help me create an album. How do I do that? Right? And you're working directly with them too.
Absolutely. Thanks. And one last selfish minute before we talk communications. I did see a question trickle in about the application requirements and differences between the two schools. I'd just like to encourage students with questions about admissions more generally. We'll put some contact information up in a moment, but feel free to message us at orange@syr.edu, and we can walk you through what that application looks like a little more specifically and some of the documents. VPA, of course, will ask for a portfolio for many of those programs. Newhouse does not. And we're always happy to chat about that one-on-one and help provide some more insight into what those processes can look like. So feel free to reach out to us by email after the session and we can chat with you a little more specifically. But without further ado, Jenny, would you like to take the lead here with communications and rhetorical studies?
Sure, and I will just add that my college does offer sessions on portfolio prep and audition prep. So most of our programs do require that additional talent component. We have some opportunities for you to sit in sessions, hear sort of the overview, and then you can connect with us on the detailed questions that you may have. But yes, and I know we're nearing the 8 o'clock hour, so I'll try to move through. But communication and rhetorical studies, I think, is one of the hidden gems at Syracuse University, meaning it's often not known as students are looking for colleges or thinking about programs because it's not necessarily a major that high school students know about. But it is the study of all forms of human communication. So our students in communication and rhetorical studies are a little different in their curricular setup, as you can see here. So this curriculum looks a lot more like a Newhouse curriculum, because most of the credits are in a liberal arts experience as well as academic electives, and then a 30% would be specific to the major. So this program does not require any additional talent component. It is a liberal arts Bachelor of Science degree. But it's, as I said, the study of human communication in all forms. And what does that mean? It means it's offering coursework that is a balance. It's balanced with the types of things you're learning. So sort of the historical theory of rhetoric and the history of how and why we communicate, so things like Aristotle, and then also real world practical skills like public speaking and persuasion and argumentation. So students are sort of getting the best of both worlds there. And they're also really being prepared to create a versatile ability to communicate in any number of ways. So if you think about a really diverse profession, they're coming to terms with how they communicate, how they persuade, and how they create a message. But it will apply to any number of disciplines. So whereas Wes will tell you more about Newhouse and sort of their umbrella of public communication, CRS, which is what we call Communication Rhetorical Studies for short, has emphasis for students in areas of education, business and industry, political communication, media and entertainment, public affairs and advocacy, and also law or pre-law. So for students that are interested in the idea of communications but want to expand a more broad exposure, CRS is a great way to do that. And they have lots of flexibility because the core courses are only 4 that all CRS students take. And then after that, to make up their 30 credits within the major, they actually focus in one of these different disciplines. So if someone's interested in politics, they might focus in political communication. They might take a minor or a second major in political science in the Maxwell School. And they might have an internship with Chuck Schumer, which one of our ambassadors did, who is our senator in New York State, and she worked in his office with his communications team. So students can find those different pathways based on their interests. And it also teaches those #1 skills that employers want, and that is how to be a good communicator and get your message across.
Thanks, Jenny. And then for Newhouse, as you see, to kind of round up the rest of our 8 majors that we have, and those are in the areas of advertising, broadcast, and digital journalism, magazine, news, and digital journalism, and public relations. So one thing I like to say about Newhouse, the way our majors are set up is they're in specific areas of communication. So as you heard from television, radio, and film, graphic design, the Bandier program, and graphics, that is what we call like our entertainment majors. And then we have our persuasive majors, and that's advertising and public relations. So if you think about advertising, pretty much what you see on a daily basis, right? We're actually being advertisers right now. We're trying to sell you Syracuse University. Or even if you look at the advertising that you see on, TV to magazines to, there's a reason why everybody watches the Super Bowl. That is what we're trying to teach with the Newhouse. Things that kind of get you to say, oh, wow, this Lexus commercial, I really want to drive this car, right? And that's what we're trying to create. They focus into 3 different areas. One is called art direction, or what we say is the creative track. So those are the students who are like creating what the gecko is saying in the Geico commercial. To students who work on more of the business side of where are we going to put this ad, right? Is it going to be on this television show? Is this going to be on this radio station? It's going to be in this publication. And then it's the one who actually works together and puts everybody, with the people who are going to sell it and the people who are creating it and adding that together too. Then you have public relations. Public relations and advertising, they work the same. As I said, there's the persuasive majors, where advertising is trying to get you to sell something. Public relations is trying to get you to feel a certain way. So if you think about when they have galas, or they're going to have a fundraiser, or if they're putting out a statement, whether it's based off of COVID, which we all probably saw with a lot of companies, or based off of what happened with the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, that's all a part of public relations and them getting that information out there. And then you see broadcast and digital journalism magazine, they're what we call our news majors. So if you want to be in front of the camera doing television, as far as I want to be an anchor, I want to be as far as an entertainment, talking about sports, weather, food, whatever that is. That's a part of broadcast and digital journalism. That's one of the things we're known for at Newhouse. So people that you see on TV, such as Mike Tirico, if you watch NFL Football Night in America on Sunday, or the Summer and Winter Olympic Games, to Waji Zhang, who is a part of CBS News, and she's actually on the air, to magazine news and digital journalism, where it is exactly what it entails. Magazine and writing more of a long format, news or like for newspaper, writing a shorter format, but covering what's called a beat, and then digital journalism, where we add in the area for you to create these things directly online. So social media, augmented reality, virtual reality as well. So the makeup of the Newhouse School is, as you see again, 122 credits is a theme there, right? Half of what you take is going to be in liberal arts, and then your 34% of Newhouse, and then the elective credits. Now, with VPA and Communication and Rhetorical Studies, we often see a lot of students within our Newhouse majors will pick up CRS as a minor, where we're teaching more of the how to do film and advertising and adding these things together, where CRS is how we communicate with each other on a daily basis. And our students often go to CRS to add that together. Like, I want to be on broadcast and I want to talk a little bit about law. So I might go to Communication Rhetorical Studies that teach me how to do the public speaking or how to do the public advocacy as well.
Right. And we also see our CRS students taking a minor in Newhouse, among others, as they sort of build their experience. I would say CRS is probably the closest thing Syracuse University has to a build your own major, because there is so much flexibility. Yeah, our students are going back and forth and exploring both avenues, so that they can either get, if they're in the area where it's more focused, like Newhouse with public communication, maybe they want a taste of that broader theory. And then for our students that are starting with that broad theory based on their specific interests, then they're honing in maybe with a minor in Newhouse or some other courses that allow them to get more detailed within that specific area of emphasis. And I think the alumni really do speak, especially, I think it's especially interesting when you look at CRS alumni. All of the other majors we talked about tonight, and I think including even the Newhouse majors that fall under those other communications areas, there's sort of a direct line to, okay, yeah, I studied advertising and now I work in an advertising firm, or I studied filmmaking, whether it was TRF or BFA film, and I'm in the film industry. But CRS is a little different, and they really do find a wide variety of career fields. They're in education, law, public policy, politics, media, organizational communication and business, and also public relations and marketing. And they brought all these different things together to get there. So you can see on this list, we have, a young alum who is a press secretary for a U.S. representative, and we have the VP of Global Partnerships and Content for Live Nation. So it really runs the full gamut, chief communicator for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, et cetera. So not any one particular kind of job, but really any kind of job based on your passions for CRS. And I think that kind of distinguishes itself from all the other majors we talked about tonight.
Yeah, and then quickly to talk about some of our alums that you see here. One is the standout, as remember the student that said that intern with Jordan Brand. That's actually Alex Klein. So as you see here, now he is a scout for the New York Knicks. He actually was a scout previously with the New Orleans Pelicans, and basically he was the reason he told them to draft Zion Williamson, because he watched a lot of film and got to go watch Zion Williamson play actually live. So and he's actually from New Jersey, and he's a Knicks fan. So I'm so excited for him. Like, if there's one person who's going to get the Knicks to turn around, and if you follow the sports, the Knicks haven't been good in years. I'm sure, Alex, you're going to hear about him. He's going to turn the New York Knicks around. And then lastly, as the other former alum, Lisa Goldberg, she was a producer with Apatow Production. She worked on all the classics, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Knocked Up, Super Bad, Dewey Cox, Funny People. So she was all a part of that production. And she was also on the set and was a producer for Bridesmaids too. So as you see, our students can kind of find different areas to go into as well. So from NBC to ABC to news to writing, as you see with Erin Hobday, to working at Elle and Town and Country.
Absolutely. Across the board, there's over 250,000 alumni of Syracuse University, and they are involved in just about any way you can imagine, and always such an important resource to take advantage of. I want to wrap up by just saying thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to help us help you and learn a little bit more about Syracuse, and as Wes said, kind of advertise and talk to us a little bit more about our programs. But we're all more than happy to continue this conversation in other spaces. So please feel free to take a screenshot or write our emails down briefly, whatever you're comfortable with. And you can find us all on our website as well, quite easily. We're so happy to connect and chat and be a resource for you as you navigate this process. Thank you again for coming. And I think we'll wrap up right here. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.
Be safe.